Alright everybody, hey, how you doing? This is Stephanie from Cornerstone Create, the hands, hair, and heart as always. Thank you for being here with me today. Today I'm going to have another Christmas at the Beach card for you. But there's going to be a trick to this because I'm actually mass producing cards. So earlier on in the week, my husband asked me to make a card for his sister. That was a little spooky, but I had a whole bunch of the paper that I had, and I didn't want to just throw away the rest of the paper because I only needed one card. So I started producing more cards using that same piece of paper, and it kind of inspired me to do more mass production of Christmas cards. So here we are. So I'm going to start off with the celery from the Mele Kaliki Maka stamp set from Simon Says Stamp. I'll link you the video to where I used this last week in that card, but I like this stamp. It's very on theme for my Christmas this year, so I'm going to use it again. I start my stamping off with soft granite from Hero Arts. With all my cards, I'm going to do 2 cards, so it's going to be the first generation stamping and then the second generation stamping. So it's soft granite, then I go to gray flannel, and I go to desert sand. I'm not going to show you the stamping and everything that I did for all the cards because all the cards have the same basic steps with just different embellishments, and you will be able to see that in the cards. Here's an example of what everything looked like after I did the stamping. Now let's get into some of the other products that I'm going to be using. So these are my Celebrate dies from Pink and Main. I got the Celebrate die, which are the small dies, and then on the opposite side I have the Celebrate stamps, which I wound up not using. And then in the middle I have the Big Shell Fancy dies. So ignore the Celebrate dies and the Celebrate stamps because I only wound up using the big ones in the middle. And this is what that looked like. So this is the big fancy shell die. I did that in brown paper and gray paper, and die cut those and pasted those onto my second generation stamps. Here I'm going to use this Opaque Bling Recollections heat embossing powder, and I have some stamps that I got from Michael's the other day. I'll link to you that haul video, and I mostly got these because they had such great sentiments on them. I like this old pink bling. It almost comes off as white with like little shiny pieces in it. The only thing that I didn't like about it is that it's almost like black heat embossing powder and that it gets everywhere very easily. But if you can get past that, it does heat emboss nicely. And with the heat embossing, like, you really need to look at your paper very well because it almost looks like the way that it pours on is the way that it looks like when it's melted. So I had a hard time being able to tell when it was fully melted, and that's why you see me feeling the sentiments, making sure that everything's melted. Next, I'm going to cut my sentiments apart, and then I'm going to cut them down to size. So some of these sentiments got really, really big, and they expanded almost across the whole way across the card. So you want to make sure that you cut these closely. Now, if you're going to mat those, that's going to be a little bit different. So just kind of put your sentiments a little bit closer to each other so that you can mat those and that they don't fall off of the page or off of the card. Now I'm going to speed things up, and I'm going to show you how I put the cards together. So this was the only card where I popped up my sentiment, but I did use a hole punch to put ribbon on 2 of the cards, and the rest, and for everything else, I kind of just glued down with some Tombow where I wanted to have my sentiment. Some of them have a shell, some of them don't, and just see what it is that I'm doing right here in front of you. Like, it's relatively simple, and that's what I liked about doing these simple 1-layer cards. There wasn't much to do to them, and they were like really easy to do. I think this took me an hour, and that's just because I didn't do much in the way of pre-planning. Like, if I would have planned these, it probably would have took me a way shorter time, but just for these 6 little cards, like, that's all that it took. I will say that I tried to cover up defects in my stamping with these sentiments. So in some places you can see where I didn't get the stamp down quite well enough. And that's the great thing about sentiments. You can put those over those areas and cover that on up and no one will ever know. And then with my ribbon, excuse me for cutting towards myself. I know that's extremely dangerous. Don't do that to yourselves. Alright, so I'd like to point out that I'm also going to use some stamps that I got from Michael's on sale. You should check out my haul video so I can show you how I got these on the cheap. I also got these Memento inks. I have Desert Sand and Potter's Clay. I use gray flannel and Hero Arts soft granite to make my cards today. And that's all the stuff that I got from Michael's. Now, those inks I got at a previous time, but those stamps are what I got to do all the sentiments that you saw today. And right here, I'm using that potter's clay to do the sentiments for my 2 tan cards. I didn't want to put gray on those, and I didn't want to get out another piece of like tan paper to do it. So yeah, this is how I did that. And these are all the cards that I wound up making today, just easily, very mass produced with my Tim Holtz stamping machine. I think I did some of them with my Precision Press Advance as well, just because I had that available. So like and subscribe and hit me up on my blog, guys. Have a nice day.